All right, let's get right into it. For years, the Jeffrey Epstein scandal was framed as this story about one singular monster. But brand newly declassified documents have just dropped, and they have completely flipped the script, revealing something so much bigger, so much more systemic. We're going to break down the actual architecture of this network using the evidence that's now come to light. And this right here, this is the total game changer. The key insight from these new documents is that this was never just about sex. It was a full-blown intelligence and influence operation, one that worked its way into the absolute highest levels of power. We're talking politics, tech, and global diplomacy. This quote really sets the stage for everything we're about to uncover. So, how on earth did it actually work? Well, the documents point to something they're calling a compromat economy. Think of it like this. Epstein wasn't just dealing in money. He was trading in social access, in the glowing reputation of scientific philanthropy, and yes, in trafficking human beings. All of it was currency, used to weave this web where everybody was tangled up, and everyone had a very, very good reason to keep their mouth shut. So where did this economy actually operate? The documents really highlight three main pillars. We're going to start with the first one, the political nexus, and specifically the evidence that surfaced around the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and the Trumps. Now, one of the most explosive pieces of evidence comes from these audio recordings, the Wolf tapes. They were made by author Michael Wolff back in 2017, just a couple of years before Epstein's death. And on these tapes, you hear Epstein himself talking with this incredible candor, almost like he believed he was completely untouchable. I mean, just let the audacity of that claim sink in for a second. Epstein alleges that he was the one who introduced Melania Knuz to Donald Trump, which completely contradicts the official story they've always told. This isn't just some sleazy gossip. If it's true, it suggests the very foundation of Trump's personal life was brokered by Epstein. Imagine the kind of psychological leverage that gives someone. And listen, this wasn't some brief one-off thing. No way. The evidence laid out on this timeline paints a picture of a relationship that goes back decades. You see them on camera at Mar-a-Lago in the 90s. Posing for that now infamous photo in 2000, Trump's name popping up multiple times on the flight logs, all the way to 2019, where Epstein is literally texting a lawmaker during a congressional hearing about Trump's inner circle. It's just a constant, sustained pattern of contact. And what's so powerful here is how all these different threads start to connect and support each other. You've got Epstein's own words on tape, and then boom, you find Melania's personal cell number in his notorious black book, which is a huge sign of direct access. And then you have proof in writing of his detailed ongoing knowledge of Trump's inner circle as recently as 2019. So why does all of this matter? Well, this 2011 email from Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, it basically spells out the whole strategy. The dog that hasn't barked. What does that mean? It implies Epstein was holding cards, that he had compromising information on Trump and was keeping it as an insurance policy. It's a classic dynamic of mutual leverage, you know? You stay quiet, I stay quiet. All right, let's pivot to the next pillar, because this is where things get even more complex, Silicon Valley. And here, the currency changes. Epstein doesn't roll in as a political fixer. No, he's a science philanthropist. He used the shine, the prestige of cutting-edge research and innovation to basically wash his reputation clean and get in with the biggest names in tech. So, first off in our Silicon Valley dossier is LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman. And the evidence points to something that was way more than a casual acquaintance. It looks like a clear transactional relationship that was deeply embedded in Epstein's whole network. And the paper trail here is, wow, it is extensive. As you can see from these points, we are talking about confirmed visits to Epstein's private island, stays at his Manhattan townhouse, using Epstein's connections to solicit donations for MIT. The link was so strong that he was eventually named by the Attorney General as an actual target for investigation. Okay, next up is a name that has come up again and again in these documents, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates. And his involvement, well, it goes way, way beyond just a few meetings. And the evidence here is just damning. We're talking about multiple meetings that took place after Epstein was already a convicted sex offender in 2008. The relationship was reportedly a major factor in his divorce, and we have emails showing Epstein was actually playing middleman for Gates and Prince Andrew to discuss Microsoft business. And that framed dollar bill they found in Epstein's mansion, signed by Gates reading, "I was wrong." I mean, that's just a chilling little trophy, isn't it? But, you know, this wasn't just about hobnobbing with individuals. This whole Silicon Valley syndicate, it also provided real operational backup, specifically helping Epstein literally scrub his toxic reputation from the internet. This is just wild. The emails lay out the entire process in real time. Step 1, Epstein emails an associate complaining, the Google page is not good. Step 2, this associate, a guy named Al Siegel, unleashes bots to game the search results. And then, step 3, Siegel sends back screenshots as proof, confirming that the negative stories have been buried, pushed off the front page. It's like watching a digital cover-up happen right before your eyes.
Okay, on to our final pillar, global influence. This is where Epstein leveraged his connections to royalty and world leaders to give himself this kind of diplomatic armor, a shield that made him seem completely and utterly untouchable.
For years, Prince Andrew's whole story was, I have absolutely no memory of that infamous photograph with Virginia Giuffre. But then, you see this. A 2011 email from Epstein himself surfaces. And what does it say? Yes, she had her photo taken with Andrew. Just like that. That one declassified email completely blows his years-long denial right out of the water. And this quote, it just shows you the pure, cold cynicism of their relationship. When Prince Andrew is starting to freak out about the allegations, this was Epstein's manipulative response, treating the victim like she was nothing more than a punchline while he managed the prince's panic. And the network also stretched to powerful figures like the former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak. The numbers here really tell the story. I mean, look at this chart. We're talking at least 30 visits to Epstein's various homes in just a 4-year period. Add to that a very controversial $2.3 million grant from a foundation where Epstein was a key trustee. This isn't just a casual friendship, it's a deep financial and personal entanglement. So after all of this, what's the big picture? What does it all really add up to? Well, the sources argue that we have to stop looking at this as just a series of separate bad decisions made by powerful men. It's bigger than that. It's an entire ecosystem, a whole ecology of compromise.
And here it is. This is the big gut punch of a takeaway. Epstein's network wasn't some kind of bug, some failure of the system of modern power. No, it was the system, working exactly as it's designed for the super elite. He was a master at finding and exploiting the existing weaknesses in our power structures, in politics, in tech, in global finance, where access and influence are the only currencies that truly matter.
Which leaves us with one really haunting question, doesn't it? The man is gone, his specific network is in ruins, but the underlying structures that he exploited, that hunger for access, the transactional nature of philanthropy, the desperate need for online reputation management, all of that is still here. It really forces you to ask, how many other similar architectures of complicity are still operating right now, completely hidden in plain sight?